Oh, right, guys. Today we are going to be reacting to Andrew Humble's Delusional Girl Who Thinks Men Aren't Needed. Let's jump in.
Yeah, I do think it would kind of be like Lord of the Flies, but I do agree with
I
you.
think
Where
most men would just be, living in a shoebox once women disappears. What's the motivation? What's the reasoning anymore?
Wait, but don't you think it's a little bit hypocritical to say that women aren't, or women don't get into jobs like that, like being a lineman and working on oil rigs because they're scared that they're going to be sexually harassed by men, like when you do OnlyFans?
How would that be contradicting? Yeah.
Well, because you're basically saying that women aren't trying to be sexually harassed when aren't OnlyFans models. Isn't that essentially what you're putting yourself out there? Even if you're not trying to get sexually harassed, isn't that the job where you are going to get sexually harassed the most?
I mean, I haven't been sexually harassed. I don't necessarily think you would be
So
sexually
you
harassed.
really think that men sexually, or women's fear of getting sexually harassed by men is what keeps them out of jobs like that?
Yeah, like women just don't want to be in working jobs with men where they would feel like a lesser person, they would be underestimated, stuff like that.
But in this case, in those jobs, like they are weaker, so they would be necessarily lesser, correct?
I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying. I don't think it's about sexual harassment. I think it is about strength and also just like who is
I'm
funneled
super
into
confused,
the
though.
point.
If that's the case, if that's the argument, why wouldn't women just start their own firms and compete with these male firms? And with all women,
There we go.
If you really have women who really want to do these jobs, then if a woman started this firm, they should have a limitless amount and could compete very easily by even offering slightly lower wages than the male competitors. These
Yeah,
women
I
are
think
desperate to get in to these jobs because they don't want to be sexually harassed by these men. You could have an all-female firm.
Yeah, I mean,
The problem is they don't want to do it because they want here. And I thought about this before. The reason they don't want to do that is because they want to take advantage of what men already built and just take a ride. Simply take a ride. They don't want to go to the work. They just simply want to take a ride. We build the system, guys. We build the system. However, all of a sudden we have to just give the system away to females just because. And this is not okay because there's no kind of responsibility behind it, right? There's not a sense of accountability. And we already see it with a lot of these female leaders, man. They just, as soon as they get empowered, even Republican guys, they just become weak. They always get weak stands. Their city becoming like a reality show. It's a bad taste, and they become woke too. On top of that, the first one I'm thinking about is Oregon and Washington State. I mean, those states are just run by women. Those states are just going downhill. When it comes down to politics, we need to step up, man.
I think that's what turns women away from working these kinds of jobs. But I think, like, again, gender stereotypes and gender roles in society plays a huge part in this. Like, generally, with, historically, what we've told women.
Okay,
in their
wait, one
places.
argument at a time before you've been like a tube of toothpaste. We squeeze here and you just move there. I squeeze there, you move here. So back on this argument, we'll stay with it. Can you answer why it is that if it is the case that you believe that there's just tons of women who want to do these jobs, just excluded due to the fact that
I don't think there is.
Hey, let me finish the question. That they're excluded because they think they're going to be sexually harassed. Why wouldn't they just start female firms and then make a killing, paying them slightly less than the competitor?
Yeah,
The world's a
again, because
monopoly.
I don't think women do want to do those jobs.
Well, then why did you earlier say that the reason that there's a barrier for
Patriarchy.
entry into these jobs, and I have witnesses here who can confirm this, one smiling because he clearly heard the same thing I did, that you said the barrier for entrance is that they did not want to be sexually harassed by the evil men.
Because that would be the reason why a lot of women would be deterred from those jobs or wouldn't get into those jobs in the first
Madam,
place.
you just
But
got
I don't
caught with
necessarily
what I like
think
to
there's a
call
large.
bullshit. You were
Wait, hold
bullshitting
on.
us.
I don't necessarily think there's some large group of women who want to do these jobs. I just think that maybe there would be women who would do them, but they just wouldn't do them because it's male
The
dominated.
lady,
How
hey,
about
I
we hear
see.
from a
hey,
woman?
hey, look at this, guys. Look at this. See this lady right here? Look at her.
in like group of women who want to do these jobs. I just think that maybe there would be women who would do them, but
She knows she's full of it. But she had a code. She has a code that needs to be protected. A lot of these females are not talking because they know this ain't it. This is not the podcast to be stupid and think that you know it all. Even this thing right here is not even talking.
they just wouldn't do them because it's male dominated.
How about
Oh,
we
I
hear
see.
from
So
a woman
you're saying
who-
that women gravitate naturally towards jobs that aren't like these, but somehow...
Not
in
naturally, no.
post-apocalypse-
I don't think it's
In the
natural.
post-apocalyptic world, where there's tons of women who don't gravitate towards these jobs, they're going to do better than men. Can you explain logically how that works?
Can we hear from a woman who's actually in the field with a
No,
lot
I
of
can.
men?
I would like to finish real quick.
Okay, but she's got
Yeah,
a
I know, and we can get to her in just a
Okay.
second. I'd like to finish the line and make
Yeah,
quick
there you go. That's it. That's a sisterhood.
here. So back to this. Can you explain to me logically, just break it down very quickly, how it could possibly be that if you now agree that women just don't gravitate towards these jobs, you would have to necessarily agree
Yeah.
that they don't want to do them, they don't have interest in them. So how is it that they would fare better, but in a post-apocalyptic, non-male world exactly?
Because like there would be no men, they wouldn't be scared to enter these jobs due to.
But wait, I thought you just said they didn't want to do these jobs. It wasn't a matter
Yeah,
of
but there
fear,
would be a
because
need
that's why
for
I
it
went through the
now.
whole
They don't
firm
want to
thing.
do it because most women think, oh, like I want a family or whatever, and I want to be seen as a feminine woman. But you know, like they want to be
Wow,
feminine
this
and
is bad,
do all these
man.
traditionally feminine
She's
things.
not even listening to what she's saying. She's not even listening to what she's saying. I don't. She cannot even She cannot even recognize whether or not she's being congruent throughout this entire conversation, guys. This is insane.
So
If there
now
were
it's
no
a
men
cultural
around-
issue. And there's no barrier for entry.
It's like a
They're
mixture
just
of
not
both.
interested, and we have a cultural problem.
It's a mixture of both.
It's a mixture of both now. So so then you do agree that most women just don't want to do these jobs.
Yeah.
So then how would they fare better when they don't even gravitate with an interest towards these types of things than men who do clearly have an interest in these things? Like, aren't you going to be better at your work if you're interested in the work?
Well, I never said that women would do better in these
Oh,
jobs.
no.
Women's
You did say
society would
women,
do better.
Quote, ready, quote, women would fare better than men. Just pointing that out.
Yeah, in
You did say
general,
that
not
is
in
your
these
position.
specific occupations.
Yeah, how could that be if women don't gravitate towards those things and men do? Aren't men going to naturally be better at them then because they're interested in them?
Because the reason why women don't gravitate towards these things is because it's male dominated and because women are not encouraged to be in those kinds of jobs
You
under
just
the patriarchy.
got done. You just contradicted yourself because first your argument was no, it's not that the barrier for entry is. Otherwise, we would have female firms that would compete. Rather, it's a
They
small
don't do it
minority
because they don't
of
want to
women.
work. They don't want to do their work, guys. They just want to just go to the top right away. They just want the billions of dollars or the millions of dollars right away. They're not going to do it, guys. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. And here, right here, new Christian lady over here, she's not liking it. She's not liking it. But Andrew Wilson he's understanding the dynamic of this panel, and I like it.
Have interest in these jobs and they gravitate towards these other jobs because of the interest they have in those jobs instead. So if that is the case, we have now deduced using inductive reasoning that you believe most women don't have an interest in these jobs. If that is the case, why do you think post-apocalyptically suddenly they would just have an interest? They would be interested.
They wouldn't be interested. There would just be
Right.
a need for it. So they like
Right.
women
Yeah, well,
would
I agree there'd be a
naturally.
need for it. They just wouldn't be interested in it. So the thing
There
is,
would be
like, how could you say they would be
incentives
better
for
at it
women
then?
to
It makes
get
no
into
sense.
these jobs, and eventually society would adapt. Like,
It's kind of like
How
one
would
of those
society
things.
adapt
Hold
if
on.
they have no interest in the job? They only are gravitating based around need, and they don't
I
have the
already
interest.
answered your
if
question.
it is the case that people have interest in a job, they do better at that job. Yeah.
women aren't interested in these jobs because of traditional gender
Wait, but
roles. If we
Andrew-
get rid of the other
You-
gender,
you're
there is no need
that's
for
a
that.
continuous contradiction. It
It's
can't
not
be
a- it's
both.
not a con-
Listen,
it's not a contradiction.
I'll show you. It cannot be both. Oh, because of traditional gender roles are not interested, and okay, at the same time, well, it's just that men gravitate towards it because they're interested. So you got to pick. pick
Yeah,
now.
the reason why they're
Is it the
interested
case
is
that
because
women
of traditional
would
gender roles.
normally-
I don't see
hang on,
what's so
hang
hard to
on. Is it the
comprehend.
case- Is it
Damn.
the case that women would normally be interested in these jobs and they're just not because men, or is it the case that they're just not interested in these jobs? Which is it?
They're not
Pick
because
one.
of cultural, like our culture, basically.
Okay, so you believe that if we had like a massive government program which incentivized women to do these jobs, that women would be gravitating towards these jobs, right?
Yeah.
No,
Okay, great. We already have that. Why aren't they?
sweetie.
What do you mean?
I mean, we have massive government programs, including affirmative action, including government stipends, government grants, including for the First Navy SEAL. Millions of dollars were spent to find one. Overwhelmingly, the government has spent hundreds of billions of dollars in affirmative
They don't want
propaganda to get women into male positions, and they don't want it. One such example you could find would be in the Nordic nations, where there was hundreds of millions of dollars spent, whatever their dollars are, in pushing women into those fields and telling them to gravitate into those fields, and they still don't. How do you account for that then?
I mean, I would just say again, because women think about wanting a family with a man and being attracted
Lady,
to
can
a
I be?
man.
So they're not-
You cannot have the goat and the rope. You cannot have the cake and eat it too. You cannot. You have to decide. Like the need to be right is so big that you're not even understanding what you're saying. You're not understanding what you're saying. You're not making sense. If you have the option, you don't want to do it because you want to have a family now. But first, it was the patriarchy, and then it's no, just they don't want to do it because it's a male-dominated space, and they can, sexually harass or whatever she said. Oh, it's social norm. You have to decide what it is. You sounded like a TikTok.
Interested in it.
Being attracted.
So they're
attracted
interested
to
in
women.
something else other than those jobs.
Can I add something?
You-
I do have to move things on. But and also, Andrew, I almost wonder if this conversation is a bit secondary, because isn't it just a defeater in this scenario? Like when it comes to a societal breakdown, even if there were women who had the interest, there's it's like a black hole, the point of no return. Once there's been enough societal decline in like an apocalyptic scenario, like you are so declined that you're just never, like, if there's just not enough people with like the knowledge base or enough people in this field, there's just going to be like so many cascading problems that like you're not even thinking about getting internet back. You're not thinking about electricity back. You're thinking about like base level
But
survival.
Even easier, all you have to do is just take a look at reason, right? Reason is important when it comes to survival. You have to reason things out. And think about how many unreasonable contradictions I just went through. Women are really interested in these jobs, but they're not interested in them. There's a gender divide, and if the government were to produce tons of propaganda towards these jobs, women would then be interested in them. And that was her position. And then when I explained, hey, but that's already happening, then it became, well, I think that women just have other interests again. In this case, men. They're just interested in men. Which again demonstrates that they have other interests than what these jobs are. So it's contradiction after contradiction after contradiction because of a lack of reason. And the thing is like, all you really have to do is think about that for 15 seconds, right? You can see all those contradictions. What Brian points out here is he says, this is way past the curve, right? He says, wait a second, if societal decay got to X threshold, there's no coming back anyway. And it's not like we're going to rediscover the technology of anvils and
That's it.
horses
It's game
and
over.
buggies and things like that. That's not an overnight thing. It would take us time to regress in technology. That's true. But the thing is like, immediately, I don't even think she believes her own position. So it's like, it can just
It's the need to be right. She wants to be right. She just simply wants to be right. Because there's some misandries here. There's clearly some misandries. They just, females, I don't know why, but they really despise men being right. I don't know why. It's weird. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the next one.